In the next few moments, you're going to witness a story that reveals how compassion can appear in the most unexpected places, even deep within the unforgiving wilderness. This is not just a tale about survival, but about instinct, connection, and the surprising ways life protects itself when hope seems completely lost. Stay with me, because what you are about to see will change the way you look at the wild forever. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you never miss more emotional and educational stories like this one. Somewhere far from cities, beyond roads and human noise, the wild moves according to its own rules. Every sound has meaning, every movement carries risk, and every creature survives by instinct alone. It is a world where weakness rarely lasts long, and where even a single moment of vulnerability can decide life or death. On a quiet morning, beneath the golden light spreading across the savannah, a small lion cub found itself completely alone, separated from the safety of its pride and surrounded by dangers it could not yet understand. The cub was too young to hunt, too small to defend itself, and too inexperienced to recognize the warning signs hidden in the tall grass. Its soft cries echoed across the open land, calls meant for a mother that was nowhere nearby. Normally, a lion cub never strays far from protection, but the wild is unpredictable. A sudden disturbance, a chase, or a moment of confusion can scatter even the strongest families. And when that happens, survival becomes a race against time. As the cub wandered uncertainly, the environment around it remained silent in a way that felt unnatural. Birds that once filled the air with sound suddenly disappeared. Small animals that had been moving through the grass retreated into hiding. The savannah, usually alive with motion, seemed to pause, a quiet signal that something powerful was nearby. The cub, unaware of the danger approaching, continued forward, driven only by fear and the hope of finding familiar scents. Not far away, hidden beneath twisted branches and dry earth, a giant snake lay motionless, perfectly camouflaged, patient, and waiting. In the wild, survival often belongs to those who conserve energy and strike only when certainty arrives. The snake had sensed movement long before the cub noticed anything unusual. Every vibration in the ground told a story, and now the story moving closer was small, vulnerable, and defenseless. The distance between predator and prey slowly disappeared. The cub paused, its ears twitching as instinct whispered that something was wrong. But instinct without experience can only do so much. It took a hesitant step forward, unaware that danger was already within striking range. The air felt heavier, as if the land itself was holding its breath. At that exact moment, something unexpected happened. A distant sound broke the silence. Not the roar of a lion or the cry of another predator, but something unfamiliar, something that did not belong entirely to the wild. It caused birds to rise suddenly into the sky and forced the snake to shift slightly from its perfect stillness. For the first time, the balance of the situation changed. The cub froze, confused but alert, its wide eyes searching for direction. Survival in the wild often depends on seconds, and those seconds were now slipping away. What followed next would become the turning point of this story. A moment no one could have predicted, where danger, instinct, and unexpected help collided. It was a collision that would reshape everything. The cub stood frozen, its small body trembling as a strange sound echoed. The giant snake adjusted its position. Its powerful body shifted silently, coils tightening with careful precision. Now, with prey standing only a short distance away, every movement was calculated. The hunter was ready. The cub took a cautious step backward, releasing a soft cry for comfort. Little did it know, help was already on the way. The team immediately slowed, observing carefully. Experience had taught them that interfering in the wild must be done with caution. Nature follows its own balance, and stepping in at the wrong moment can create greater danger. Yet what they saw through the lenses quickly changed their hesitation. The cub was alone, and not alone for long. One rescuer pointed toward a barely visible shape near the ground, the outline of the snake blending almost perfectly. Even from a distance, its size was clear. The situation was unfolding rapidly, and the encounter could turn fatal. A decision had to be made, and it had to be made quickly. The vehicle's engine sound grew slightly louder. The vibration traveled through the soil, reaching both hunter and cub at the same time. The outcome of that decision would determine whether the small lion cub's story ended there or continued into something unforgettable. Slowly, the massive reptile began to retreat. Its coils loosened as it slid backward into thicker vegetation, disappearing almost as silently as it had appeared. The rescuers watched carefully, making sure it fully withdrew before moving closer. No one celebrated yet. In the wild, danger rarely comes alone, and every step required patience. The cub, now separated from immediate danger, released another soft cry, this time weaker, filled with exhaustion. Without the snake's presence, the vulnerability of the young lion became even more obvious. Dust clung to its fur, and its movements showed how long it had been alone. A cub this young could not survive long without protection, food, or guidance from its pride. The rescuers stepped out cautiously, keeping their movements slow. They understood that even a frightened cub could react unpredictably. One team member crouched low, avoiding direct eye contact to appear less threatening. Another prepared equipment designed for wildlife rescue. As they approached, the cub attempted a weak growl, more instinct than strength. It took a few unsteady steps backward, but quickly realized it lacked the energy to flee. Instead, it sat down heavily, watching the humans with fear and curiosity. For the rescuers, this moment was delicate. Trust could not be forced. It had to be earned through calm presence and patience. A soft cloth was gently placed around the cub, both to comfort it and to prevent sudden movements. The animal resisted briefly, then slowly relaxed. Up close, the team could see signs of dehydration and fatigue, confirming that time had been running out faster than anyone realized. Had they arrived even minutes later, the outcome might have been very different. As the cub was carefully lifted into a secure carrier, a sense of relief spread. The immediate danger had passed, but the story was far from over. Somewhere out there, a lioness might still be searching, calling for her lost cub. Saving the cub from the snake was only the first step. The real challenge now was finding where it belonged in the vast wild. As the vehicle turned away, carrying the small survivor towards safety, no one yet realized that this rescue would soon take an unexpected turn, one that would challenge everything the team understood about compassion, instinct, and the hidden connections within the wild. The vehicle moved carefully across the uneven terrain, leaving behind the silent patch of land where the cub's fate had nearly been decided. Inside the carrier, the young lion lay quietly, too exhausted to resist. Its breathing had slowed, though every now and then it released a faint sound. The rescuers drove with focus, knowing that saving the cub from immediate danger was only the beginning of a far more complicated journey. Wildlife rescue is rarely as simple as removing an animal from harm. Every decision carries deep consequences. Predators like lions depend on strong social bonds. Without their pride, a rescued cub faces an uncertain future. At the field station, rescuers worked calmly. Their goal was not captivity, but a hopeful reunification. The cub drank eagerly, a vital first step in regaining the strength needed to return home. The team reviewed tracking data, searching for signs of the mother's presence nearby. Time was critical. Lionesses often return to search, but every hour apart lowers the chances of success. Suddenly, a distant roar echoed. A lioness was calling. The team knew this was the moment to act. As the cub stepped out, it froze. Recognition flickered in its eyes as the call sounded once more. It was a reminder that even in the wild, the strongest force is the bond of family. There is always hope. It started with a trembling call, not loud, but filled with longing. The rescuers held their breath, waiting. In the stillness of the night, only the sound of insects filled the air as silhouettes waited in the shadows. Then, from the shadows, a shape began to emerge. Glowing eyes reflected starlight as a lioness stepped forward. She paused, scanning the area, her gaze settling on the small cub. The air felt charged with tension. This was the moment trust and instinct met. A mother and cub, separated by chance, now united by bond. The cub hesitated, then released a soft, hope-filled call. The lioness responded with a reassuring rumble. Slowly, she stepped closer and gently touched him with her nose. Recognition was instantaneous. The cub pressed closer with relief. The bond was strong enough to overcome the fear and the separation. A quiet relief spread among the rescuers. Nature's decisions had been made and a family was whole again. Reinforcing their connection through instinct, they disappeared back into the safety of the wild. For several minutes, the pair remained together, almost motionless except for gentle movements. Then the lioness suddenly lifted her head. Somewhere beyond the darkness, other lions called faintly. She responded with a low roar, signaling her presence. The Savannah carried the sound far across the plains. The cub stayed close, following every movement of its mother. Its earlier fear seemed to fade, replaced by renewed energy. Survival depended not only on strength, but on belonging. The rescuers documented the interaction quietly, ensuring the reunion could continue without human influence. The moment felt too significant to interrupt. The lioness nudged the cub gently, leading it toward the tall grass. Before disappearing, she paused once more. It felt like a silent acknowledgement that their presence had not brought harm. Then, without hesitation, both vanished into the wild where they belonged. Nature had completed the story itself. We are reminded that the greatest role humans can play is not to control the wild, but simply to protect it. A moment of patience and respect allowed nature to restore its own balance. Thank you for witnessing this journey. As sunlight gradually spread across the horizon, the landscape revealed fresh tracks left in the soft earth. Among them were the unmistakable prints of the lioness and her cub walking side by side. The smaller paw marks stayed close to the larger ones, a simple but powerful sign that the reunion had truly succeeded. For wildlife rescuers, evidence like this meant more than celebration. It confirmed that intervention had been minimal and effective, allowing the animals to return to their natural lives without dependency on humans. Back at the field station, the team reviewed the footage captured overnight. On the screens, the quiet exchange between mother and cub played again. The cautious approach, the moment of recognition, and the gentle grooming that followed. Even for experienced professionals who had seen countless rescues, the scene carried emotional weight. It served as a reminder that survival in the wild is not only about strength or dominance, but also about connection and instinctive care. One rescuer noted how close the situation had come to ending differently. The giant snake had simply been following its own role within the ecosystem. Nothing in the encounter was cruel or unnatural. It was the reality of survival. Yet the presence of humans, guided by observation rather than control, had shifted the outcome just enough to give the cub another chance. That delicate balance, knowing when to step in and when to step back, defined responsible conservation work. In the following days, remote cameras placed near the area continued to monitor lion activity. Footage confirmed that the cub remained with the pride, moving alongside other lions and gradually regaining strength. Each new clip showed growing confidence, short playful movements, attempts to follow older cubs, and the steady watch of the lioness never far away. The success of the rescue became clearer with every passing day. Stories like this rarely make headlines because they happen quietly, far from crowds and attention. Yet they carry important lessons. The wild is not separate from compassion. It simply expresses it differently. Animals protect, teach, and care for one another through instinct, while humans have the ability to observe, understand, and sometimes assist. For the rescuers, the experience reinforced why their work mattered. Conservation was not about interfering with nature, but about preserving opportunities for life to continue as intended. Sometimes that meant protecting habitats, and occasionally, as in this case, stepping in at exactly the right moment. As the team prepared to leave the region, the savannah stretched endlessly before them, calm and unchanged. Somewhere within that vast landscape, a young lion cub walked safely beside its mother, learning the lessons it was meant to learn in the wild. The danger it had faced would become only a small, unseen chapter in its life, unknown to the pride but unforgettable to those who witnessed it. And perhaps that is what makes stories like this meaningful. Not the drama of danger, but the quiet reminder that compassion exists even in the harshest environments. Sometimes success is simply watching life continue exactly where it belongs, free, wild, and untouched once more.